Good morning to all. Hi, Kailash. Okay. Good morning, friends, viewers, delegates, presenters, and our esteemed judges for today. Uh, before we begin the session, so this is the concluding day today, and we look forward to an interesting session in the education category as well as the manufacturing category in the afternoon. So we begin with the education sector. Before I start off the session, I will be taking you through 2, 3 points, which is if for any reason you are disconnected, then you can join in by entering the meeting ID and password, and the host will allow entry. You're requested to use a headphone with mic and earphone for better clarity. Once you enter the session, you are placed on mute and with your video on the off mode. All the presentations will follow the schedule during broadcast. Audiences can ask questions via the chat mode, but here we would like to inform that the presenters will respond during the Q&A with the judges. So you'll have to just be patient till the responses come at the appropriate time. Before we begin the education category, Natasha, can you play the video of,
Yes.
yeah.
Mr. H.
Yes, Mr. H.S. Bhatt. He has spoken some very good words for us, so I would like to take you through that. Thank you.
Hello friends, I am H.S. Bhatt. I am from Manipal University, Jaipur, one of the universities under the Manipal group based at Manipal, Karnataka. I am with the group since last about 3 decades. Manipal University Jaipur started in 2011 in beautiful pink city that is in Rajasthan and is a landmark in itself with its magnificent campus, green campus. In my university, I am responsible for faculty recruitments. I am very proud to be before you in this platform to share my experience with IMC and its prestigious initiatives such as making quality happen. Indeed, IMC is fostering to take forward and popularize the awareness of quality and cost of poor quality important in the organizations. I am associated with IMC since last 14 years and 13 cycles as senior assessor and 11 of them as team leader. Indeed, it is my proud privilege. IMC and RBNK Award Trust is well managed NGO in pursuit of driving quality initiatives. It is with thorough and systematic assessment criteria and dedicated efforts of the assessors, IMC delivers the justice in the form of quality awards to the organization applicants. It is a wonderful journey for me so far and a learning lesson every year when you embark on refresher training and assessing a new and totally unknown organization. That is the beauty of it. Assessments requires definite competency from the assessors as a team, which IMC, in my opinion, infuses in them year on year. I'm very fortunate that throughout my IMC journey, I had with me a few of you people as my team members. It is that team spirit, teamwork, and team learning makes to continue our journey way forward. Many thanks to IMC team for extending the opportunities and also sustaining our ranks. I will sign off now and thanks to one and all again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bhatt sir. As always, he gives you a very positive feeling. Now we proceed to the presentations of all our organizations in the education category. We have with us today our judges.
Maya, you have to introduce judges. Okay.
Yeah, I'm introducing.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So we have with us as judges Mr. Jitendra Malhotra, General Manager, Hindalco Industries Limited, Aditya Birla Group. He's also a great team leader with our process and contributed a lot in guiding organizations. So welcome and very good morning, Jitendra.
Thank
Few
you,
words
thank
from
you,
you.
Maya, and
I
thank
think
you,
his
Maya.
connectivity is lost. Yeah. Hi. Yeah.
Am I not
A few words from you,
audible or
Jitendra?
visible?
No, it's.
no,
I
you're
think
audible.
it's some connection issue. No? It's audible, but it was breaking
Okay,
in between.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
So a few
Thank you,
words from
Maya.
you, Jitendra.
Yeah, thank you very much
Okay.
for inviting and giving us this opportunity. I think
Our
it is
pleasure.
always a pleasure to work with RBNQA because it is always a learning opportunity. And this
Great.
time, the education sector best practices.
Uh,
So great time ahead. I mean, let's see
Okay.
how it
Okay.
works. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jitendra. We also have with us Dr. Sandeep S. Shenoy. He's Director Compliance, Manipal Academy of Higher Education. Good morning, Sandeep, and a very warm welcome. Thank you. You have some few words for our audience?
Yeah, associating with this RBNQA for the last dozen years has been a very pleasurable experience and led to a lot of learning, and we have understood a lot of applicants and their organizations. Apart from that, it has helped us personally in terms of learning a lot of things. And this year, in fact, it was a very good experience to understand how conferences can be held in a digital mode and in a very systematic way. And as already mentioned in the chats, how well it is conducted, we could see that, we could experience that, and it's really a pleasure. In any mode, whatever way we are attending these kind of conferences, it has always been a good experience. Best wishes to all the teams who are participating for today's presentations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So we'll now move on to our presentations, starting with Bombay Cambridge Gurukul, Mumbai. We have with us presenters Ms. Sarbani Bhattacharya, HR Coordinator. Can I have her in focus, please? Sarbani Bhattacharya. Hello, ma'am. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you. I am fine.
Yeah, great. So wish you the very best, ma'am.
Thank you.
And we also have with us Ms. Anni Vasavada, Head Information and Public Relations.
I just want to correct, my co-presenter is Shama Govindan.
Shama Govindan.
She's also HR coordinator.
Can I have Shama Govindan, HR coordinator?
Yes, she is there.
Sorry about that. My sincere apologies, ma'am. Hello, Shama. How are you?
Hi, Maya. Lovely to see you. I'm sorry, ma'am. I think
there's some disturbance.
No, ma'am. Just a moment. I think there's another machine which is on in your premise. Just put that on mute.
Is that better?
No, you'll have to put that on mute.
1 second. All right.
No, it's
just a second. Okay.
Better.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Our association of, Bombay Cambridge Gurukul with INC through, I think, both the RBNQA and the MQH since last year has been there. So you are familiar people. And I hope we are to you. So glad to be here today and part of MQH this year.
Wish you all the very best, you and your team, ma'am. So I'll move on to your presentation. May I request for the presentation of Bombay Cambridge Gurukul, Mumbai?
Hello everyone. Good morning. Here I begin. Bombay Cambridge Gurukul is more than 30-year-old institution with 5 schools in the western suburbs of Mumbai. We provide education to more than 10,000 students guided by a 700-strong staff group with an aim to impact society positively through our students. The institution provides students with an option to study under the IGCSE board or SSC board. Now I am going to present one of the best practices of my organization, that is Student Exit Survey. Schools get feedback from 2 sources. First, the incoming students and parents. They provide a valuable source of information about why parents selected the school, which usually is the USP of the organization. The second source, and the important one, is the outgoing students who avail the services of the school. Exit interviews are important because they offer a deeper look at workplace culture, day-to-day processes, and management solutions. When completed in a consistent and standardized way, these interviews can help foster positive relationships and a welcoming environment. Exit surveys with the students who are graduating from school are conducted to get information about students' experience while attending the school, what they benefited from, what was missing, and what could be improved to enhance the experience of the next generation of students who attend the school. Getting inputs from students was seen as essential in reviewing student experience. Students are direct receivers of all the services of the school. Hence, they were seen as an important group to assess the school system. The purpose of the survey was in 3 folds. First, to gather information about students' experience in their entire school career. Second, students' candid insights and perspectives on the social emotional climate of the school will help making relevant changes. Third, students expressing their views in a safe environment can help achieve a sense of closure of their experiences in a positive way. The survey was administered for the first time in the academic year 1996-97 when more than 850 students had passed out of 3 BCG schools. It was a ritual for the chairman to meet the outgoing students every year before their farewell, and from there the idea of exit survey got generated and a practice got established. The survey is scheduled in December, which is a month away from their last day in school. It is scheduled at this time as children are only for a month after this and they should not hold back their responses thinking of the repercussions of what they say. It is conducted by a neutral third party and hence lends objectivity and confidentiality to the analysis of the survey. It is conducted by the HR department. While conducting, it is ensured that there are no teachers around. Children are oriented about the confidentiality part. They are told that no one from school will ever get to see the survey. After the survey is conducted and analyzed, a report is presented to the school principal at the end of the academic year to share with teachers and make necessary changes for the following year. The survey content is reviewed every year to consider any changes to it based on the needs of the organization and the trends impacting students at the given time. From the year 2006-07, the survey included space for students to write a letter to their principal to cover anything they wanted to say beyond what the survey asked. Students are informed that the letters are not confidential and would go to the principal as is, and they can choose to write their names or not. Usually, students are encouraged to write their names while writing letter so that they take the responsibility of what they are saying, and more so if at all a principal has to get back for any reason, even to speak to the student about a very negative experience, it can be done. Or if a student is writing very positive thing about the school, then it can be used in future with credits. It continues to be seen as a vital source of information about student experience, and this has been the 24th year that the Student Exit Survey has been conducted. This is the year-wise graphical representation of the number of students responding to the survey from the beginning till this year. So far, 21,438 students have participated in the survey. It started with a pen and paper survey, but for the last 6 years, since 2014-15, it is being done online. During an allotted time, students go to computer lab of the school and they enter their responses. The survey is password protected. No school personnel is allowed to be around when the survey is on. Only staff from the Department of HRD manage the whole thing. These are the screenshots of the online survey format. The format of the survey has remained the same even online, a combination of objective and subjective questions. Now coming to the monitoring of best practice, the survey is planned in a way as to enlist 100% participation. Information about students needing assistance is acquired beforehand to ensure planning any aid. Students are oriented to the purpose and importance of the survey for most honest responses. The online data is password protected and only the assigned person has access to it. All extraneous influences are eliminated by ensuring a one-time on-the-spot schedule plan. Now coming to the result of the best practice. Over the years, student suggestions have resulted in substantial changes in school services and practices. The response to the survey was at two levels: change to student programs and schedules, as well as introduction of practices and systems that facilitated a positive school experience. We will go through few changes which got incorporated. The year against each change is the year the suggestion was made. The implementation would have taken place in the immediate following year or in couple of years based on the nature of change being implemented. Schedules for class 10 students were modified to include more non-academic activities like PT, music, dance, camps, field trips, etc. to reduce stress. A steady and consistent social-emotional curriculum which is need-based and age-appropriate was established. A robust career guidance program was established. The role of the student council was revamped and made more student-centric. The electoral procedure was made more transparent with greater facility of communication. The process of access to books for students in the library was revamped. Earlier, students could exchange books only during their library period. Later on, it was planned in a way so that they can exchange their books on any day during their school hours. And also, more contemporary writers were offered that students would find interesting and engaging. The teaching program was upgraded to include technology and more interactive methods. Changes in timetable structure where CCA subjects and academic subjects were interspersed. More detailed planning for schedule of home assignment was done. It was planned all teachers will not give home assignments on the same day. More choices of optional subjects for students were introduced. Better sports facility and opportunities for students. School introduced and implemented an anti-bullying policy for students and established a students' peace code the following year. Some of the practices continuing based on positive feedback from students include services provided by the counselors and special educators, camps, tours and picnics, activities and events conducted by the school, the CELSI program, system of education in the lower classes, teacher-student interaction is one of care, support and encouragement. Now coming to why it is best practice. It is important to consider that student opinion is valuable and should be respected. They are an integral part of the purpose of the school, and ignoring their perspectives would be to ignore a vital resource that can contribute immensely to the school's growth and development. It gives the school administration an objective overview of the social-emotional climate of their school from the students' perspective. It provides feedback about which practices are endorsed by students and which of these require to improve their relevance for students. It helps the organization to improve its culture and environment. The continuing student body still in school receives the benefit of student feedback, making it more relevant to them. It helps to bridge the gap between the policies and actual practices. It is a practice that can sustain and be easily replicated to suit the needs of any school. So, before I conclude, I will say that the schools firmly believe that getting input from students about their experience can only enhance what the school can offer. Students have proven they are capable of giving feedback in a responsible manner and that they care about the students still in school. So this is a practice that will definitely continue. Thank you.
Hello, Maya.
Okay, thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation, strong customer focus approach. We move on to our next organization, Global Indian International School, PG Smart Campus, Singapore. We have with us today Ms. Melissa Maria, Principal. Hello, ma'am. How are you?
I'm very
Very
fine.
welcome.
I'm very fine, and to all of you, a very warm welcome. And I'm
Thank
pleased
you.
to be here on this platform.
Yeah, thank you. Wish you the very best, ma'am. We also have with us Ms. Radha Ganesh, coordinator. Hello, Radha. How are you? Good morning.
I'm good. I'm good. Good morning. How are you all?
Very good.
And
Very
good afternoon
Thank you.
to all my colleagues there as well.
Okay, great. So I wish you the best, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
We will take on your presentation. Global Indian International School, PG Smart Campus, Singapore. Can we have the presentation, please?
A very good day to our esteemed judges and members of the IMC. Our team, Ms. Radha Ganesh and myself, Melissa Maria, Principal at the Smart Campus, Singapore. We are a chain of K-12 schools headquartered in Singapore with footprints across 7 countries with 23 campuses around the world, adhering to all regional regulatory requirements. Our vision is to be a global role model for teaching and learning with a mission to nurture global citizens where we focus on all-round development, creativity, and entrepreneurship. Our project takes roots in this. We believe that in order to be a role model, we need to be pioneers in providing a technological edge to students to have a sustainable impact on the learning outcomes. The project presents 5 key areas, highlighting the great opportunity we saw in technology and reiterate why this project can be considered a best practice. Based in a smart nation, Singapore, and having the finest technologies in the K-12 space, we titled our project Smartaculars, taking inspiration from the word spectaculars. Using smart technologies, we have spectacularly made understanding of key concepts easier. Students are able to leverage on technology to increase their knowledge quotient, analyze their performance, realize set goals and targets, and scale greater heights of achievement.
Highlighting the development and deployment of the project. Affiliated to multiple curricula, namely the Indian CBSE, the Cambridge IGCSE, and the International Baccalaureate, with each having its own syllabus, learning outcomes, and pedagogy. To meet with these diverse requirements, every classroom is equipped with smart TVs, visualizers, collar mics for teachers, iPad and MacBooks for students, and very recently, the Zoom rooms and webinars to conduct virtual classes. Seeing is believing.
Welcome to GIIS Smart Campus. Groups expanding within minutes to accommodate larger groups for lectures and exams. Our classrooms are fitted with state-of-the-art audio and visual systems. Every classroom is acoustically enhanced with audio systems. Teachers can move freely within the class thanks to cordless microphones. To complement the traditional whiteboards, every classroom has 2 65-inch TV screens, which double up as touch-screen smartboards. Learning is enhanced through video, airdropping documents, and showcasing projects. Our virtual classrooms will provide a platform for students and teachers to expand their learning beyond the classroom, connecting them with leading educators around the world, sharing, collaborating, and creating a global network of knowledge sharing. Truly, a classroom without walls.
We leverage on multiple external resources to enhance student learning. Programs like HeyMath, Genius are customized to our needs. These tools help conceptualize learning to the modern day context. Detailed assessment is a formative assessment that helps bridge learning gaps. For example, if a class takes a maths test and majority of students say have a question, say multiplication wrong, the software highlights this and gives suggestions for remediation. The teacher then revisits the topic and reinforces the concept. Technology also helps us leverage on the knowledge, skills, and experience of our alumni. We see our alumni addressing an auditorium full of students through video conference from the US. Another example, a leadership lecture in our auditorium with a capacity of 400 plus seats can be broadcast to all the classrooms so that students get inspired and aspire to reach greater heights. Technology allows us to use various tools to analyze student performance. We have the award-winning automated 7S analysis, a predictive tool to gather academic data and analyze it in 7 different ways. The summary statistics gives us 13 different data, including skewness and kurtosis, indicating the direction in which the school is moving. Using this data, interventions, goal setting, and improvement plans are formulated. We also monitor the overall school targets and performance through the monthly promise. Technology has helped us realize our targets and achieve excellent results. We have had 14 IB World Toppers, a CBSE ASEAN Middle East Topper, and 24 IB Near World Toppers. Over 100 new ideas are generated, and I'm proud to share that for the second year in a row, 2 of our teams presented at the Young Innovators Program organized by IIT Kharagpur. I'm indeed proud to share some achievements. In the IB exams last year, the cohort average was an impressive 37 grade points. 33% students scored a 40 or more grade points. The Cambridge IGCSE exam saw a 30% of students scoring A star and A in all their subjects. 100% students secured an A star in mathematics. Class 12 CBSE exam school average was 87.4% and 16.2% students scored 95% or above. Class 10 CBSE exam school average was 88% and 55% scored an overall 90% or above. Use of smart technologies has enabled us scale new heights of being the hub of best practice sharing and learning. Selected by the Government of Singapore to be a part of the Scale Up SG initiative, which recognizes us as an organization with the potential to grow exponentially beyond the Singapore horizon. Not only the organization, but students too have scaled up using this technology. Students have found placements in leading universities across the world, be it the USA, UK, Australia, Canada, India, and of course, Singapore. Our alumni are well placed, recognized for the innovations they bring to the workplace and the society at large. The slide shows one of our alumni receiving an award from PM Modi, the High Commissioner of India to Singapore, and several ministers from the Singapore government. To monitor the project, the weekly management meetings, the academic team meetings, and the monthly promise help keep track of the progress made. The analytics received from these reports highlight the progress made on the targets, comparisons, and benchmarks.
The intangible benefits, creating a positive ambience for learning aligned with our core value, a positive word of mouth, and a forum for best practice sharing. Tangible results, academic results have seen a steady rise both for CBSE as well as IBDP. Whole school results have seen a consistent performance of 80% and above over the years. Consistent increase in online tools and programs have enhanced student learning, the latest being use of high-end Zoom webinars to conduct virtual classes for more than 3,500 students in Singapore with uninterrupted learning. Besides, digitizing examinations to bring transparency and fairness, paper conservation, and space saved for storage. A huge jump in the number of digital and online competitions, participation, and number of awards won. In 2019, number of participation increased from 110 to 200 and awards from 25 to 60. Success in sports performance using SPEEDAS technology and analytics, teams have increased from 12 to 22 and participants moved from 96 to 170. Championships won has significantly gone up from 2 to 6 from 2018 to 19. A steady increase in the number of students trained, workshops and boot camps conducted, and more importantly, the number of ideas generated over the years. With technology as an enabler, The Alumni Connect program has reached more than 800 students with several activities organized for them. Today, we are in a position to offer internships to our alumni. Technology has helped serve community better. Training programs and virtual volunteering has supported the less privileged in Singapore. Why is this project Smarteculars considered a best practice? 4 main reasons. It has brought innovation to education, it is aligned with our pedagogy, there is ease of replication, and it has been recognized by several third-party organizations world over. In conclusion, we would like to state that GIS, with its excellent technologies, caters to a digital-savvy student body, but more importantly, nurtures values of kindness, empathy, and care of the environment. Students are growing as global citizens with an intelligent head, a loving heart, and hands stretched to serve and create a better world. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation of a truly smart campus. We move on to our next organization from Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, Pune. We have with us Dr. Rajesh Jalnekar, Director. Can we have him in the spotlight, please? Dr. Rajesh Jalnekar. And Dr. Vijay Ganesh. Is there a change?
Yeah, that's Dr. Ganesh.
Dr. Ganesh, okay. And Dr. Vijay Gaikwad, Dean QA.
Yeah, Dr. Vijay Gaikwad, yeah.
Yes, can we have him in the spotlight? Dr. Ganesh, good morning,
Yes.
sir. A very warm
Good
welcome.
morning.
How are you?
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning. I'm fine and ready to go for the presentation.
I think this. Thank you so much for your participation.
Yeah,
And
thank
we
you.
would also like to meet with Dr. Vijay Gaikwad.
Good
Hello,
morning,
sir.
ma'am.
Good morning. Yeah,
Morning,
good
ma'am.
morning, sir. How are you?
I'm very fine. Very nice to interact the team IMC, RBN QA, and
Thank you, sir.
respected judges. Very good morning.
Good one. And all the best for your presentation, sir. We will move on to your presentation now. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can we have the presentation of Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, Pune?
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to all of you. This is Professor Dr. Rajesh Jalnekar, Director, Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, Pune. And I'm going to present to you the best practices at VIT. We are an autonomous institute and we are implementing many innovative best practices. And I'm going to present to you today one of our best practice, engineering design and innovation, a case study based approach. So this is EDI. And it's a case study based approach to solve the real world socio-economic problems. And we have 2 terms, project based learning and project centric learning. Project based learning means whatever student learn through their courses, they learn it further, enhance their learning by doing it through projects. And project centric learning means we give them a real life case study, a problem, and the students understand what is it and proposes a solution. So this is a case study approach. It's a approach which is followed in very few universities in the world. It is offered in every semester, right from the first year to the students, and it's a 4-credit course. So those in engineering, they do 8 plus 8. So 16 projects or 13 case studies. One of them is a hardware based and another is a software based. What are the objectives of this EDI case studies? It is to inculcate research and innovation culture among the students right from the first year. It also gives them opportunity to learn newer tools and technologies and domains which are essential to solve the case study problems for the socio-economic growth. It also enhances the self-study culture amongst the students because the formal education ends at a point, and after that we need to work on several projects in our real life, several case studies in our life, several situations in our life, And this is a practice, a rehearsal for the student to get such case studies and propose engineering solution to them. So they learn further knowledge on these aspects through MOOCs, research paper, book, literature review, and so on. It also gives them opportunity to connect with the industry because they go to the industry to get sponsored projects, or they take their case studies and ask them to sponsor it or guide on this. So those students who have worked on their own in the college, it's an opportunity for them to take it to the product level and have their own startups also. So we want to promote, as per the mission of our country, to have more startups, and therefore this is one attempt to do so. So how we develop this EDI best practices? We identify several domains where we can contribute, and the project or the case study is in this one of these domain. So few domains are listed here as an indicative list: agriculture, healthcare, defense, smart city, food technology, smart vehicle, rural development, wastewater management, green earth, energy sector, and so on. So these are the areas identified. So students select one of these areas where they would like to contribute, and they find out which are the technologies they would like to use to address the given problem at hand. And some of the latest technologies are listed here. Again, it's an indicative list. So like machine learning, IoT, industrial automation, cyber security, virtual reality, data science, memes and data analytics, etc., cloud computing. And then they identify the relevant tools for these case studies, and some of them are again listed here, like 3D printing, then C++ or Skylab, Java, embedded hardware platform, etc. And with the help of these tools, technologies, and the domain knowledge, they design and develop an innovative solution for the given case study to address the social economic issues. So a typical system under EDI would be like this. The domain, say, let's select it is a defense domain, and the case study is a particular case study like ship intrusion detection. Then the technology the student may select is computer vision and deep learning, and the tools he may select is Python and OpenCV, and thus we come to reach to the EDI solution. So how we deploy it at the institute? A group of 5 students from various branches and various years. We promote that the students from mechanical engineering, computer, electronics, chemical, they come together to solve this case study, because in the real world, the problems are of multidisciplinary nature. And even we encourage students from first year to join hands with the second year, third year, and final year students to enhance further learning. So they come together and they approach a faculty, and on with mutual consent, they decide the case study which they are going to address. And a faculty in VIT guides or supervises such 5 groups having different case studies, or a bigger case study is divided into smaller groups as per the expertise of the students and the faculty and their mutual consent. The group under the supervision of faculty identifies a domain in which they are working. They learn the necessary tools and technologies on their own, just under the supervision of the faculty, and which are necessary to address this case study. Then they do project planning and documentation through Google Classrooms, and most of the interaction happens in the laboratories or online also on certain video conferencing platform. And there are regular scheduled meetings, and they meet regularly. Because such projects are of multidisciplinary nature, as mentioned earlier, faculty from other departments are also a part of this project, and the supervisors directs the student to such faculties, and joint meetings are also held. With the help of these relevant tools and technologies and the domain knowledge, the students, the group of students, I mean, they develop an innovative solution and the EDI solution for this. Then the group submits a report, which is in the form of publications, which is later on published in a journal or a conference, as the case may be. Now, how we monitor this? The monitoring is done in 2-3 ways. One is the supervisor through a college committee, which is a 5-member committee where department heads is there. Then the department EDI coordinator is there. Every department has an EDI coordinator, Dean Academics, Dean Research and Innovation, and Dean Quality Assurance. If the project is of multidisciplinary nature, then one of the department owns that project, and in that case, that department EDI coordinator will be the committee member. So weekly reviews are conducted by the faculty, and monthly reviews are conducted by the committee. Also, we have an external review committee or audit committee, which is a 3-member committee. Faculty supervisor is one of the members, and 2 professionals, one from the industry and one from the academia. They form the 3-man committee. And the metric for assessment is very well laid down. And the problem statement, group formation, how they approach is given 10% weightage. The designing part, the testing part is given 30% weightage. The demonstration and the report they prepare, the quality of that demonstration and report, it carries 20% weightage. The entire quality of the work and the defense, how they defend their work, is given 30% weightage. And as time is important in such case studies, timely completion also carries a weightage of 10%. What are the results achieved? The results achieved are that there are certain skills which are required that a professional should possess to be successful and be at the top position in the corporate world. And one of them is definitely creativity and innovation. So they learn how to approach a problem statement and propose innovative solutions to that. Teamwork is, of course, one of the most important quality in any professional. Writing a technical report in a crisp and a precise manner. Eloquence is required. So presentation skills are very important for students at this formative age. The communication skills, how they communicate their ideas with the industry, with the fellow members, with the supervisor, with the auditors, and networking with industry is also also done through these projects. That the student become confident in working on such projects. They learn the complex problem solving ability. The critical thinking also is developed among the students. They are confident that independently in a group can handle such projects. Creativity, as I mentioned earlier, and the learning ability of the student is increased, because learning ability is what matters in the longer run. Then we conduct on this EDI case studies a conference every year where students are asked to present their report, which is in the form of a publication, and we held several parallel sessions. So this is the data for the last year. 182 papers were presented in 192 parallel sessions with 205 industry experts and another 200 experts from academia. And the projects for last semester were 152, which just ended. What are the direct outcomes from this? 132 journal papers were published, conferences 183, patents 13, and total 328. One of our student group, because of their experience in approaching case studies in this innovative way, won the first prize at all India level in the MHRD IICT Mega Online Competition, Samadhan, which was a solution for COVID-19. So this is what we feel that this case study based approach, EDI approach, is helping the students, the industry, and the society, and it is one of the best practices, and it is being implemented since last 4 years, and our students are gaining through this a lot. Even the faculty is enriching in their knowledge and in their approach towards problem solving, and we are thankful to you for giving this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation by Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, Pune. We will now move on to the last organization for this session. We have with us the Global Indian International School, Ahmedabad campus. There will be a slight, please excuse us if there's some issue with the presentation in terms of the technical details, but otherwise it's a smooth run. We have with us Mr. Dhey Buch, student. Hello, hi, how are you, Dhey?
Fine, fine. Great presentation for all of you.
Oh, great. So, very, all the best for your presentation, Dhey. And I'll just move on to Mr. Cesar De Silva, principal. Good morning, sir. How are you? I think, can you unmute yourself, sir?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi. Good morning, everybody.
Yeah. Good morning.
Thank you so much, Maya.
Yeah. And wish you the best, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. So we will move on to your presentation, and then thereon take on further. Thank you.
Okay.
So may we have the presentation of Global Indian International School, Ahmedabad campus?
Greetings to everyone from GIS Ahmedabad. My name is Naisha and this is my friend Dhey.
We are here to share the journey of our school from ordinary to extraordinary. The journey that has changed mindset, shaped our thoughts, and showed us a greener path towards better and sustainable future.
Our school has consciously taken this project to build greener generation, which will eventually create better citizens for our Mother Earth. All of us at GIIS have collectively created and nurtured learning environment based on green ethics. To ensure that it does not remain just a showcase project, the school has taken us through an entire year's program which is built around multiple activities, celebrations, initiatives and projects to inculcate the concepts of green ethics in us. GIIS aimed to create green warriors who would take the concept further in their lives and spread across the world as true global citizens. Therefore, the two of us would like to take you through our transformation from ordinary students to extraordinary green warriors.
We envision to build greener, sustainable schools through engaging parents and community. We at GIS aim to develop a sustainable outreach program that would involve the NGOs and government bodies. Without further ado, let me take you to this exciting journey of academic year 2019-20, where our school has set a benchmark by implementing programs to make this world a greener place. Throughout the year, GIS followed a well-designed roadmap and an annual calendar of events. To begin from the month of April, under the theme Mother Earth, we started by learning to segregate dry and wet waste and use separate dustbins through an assembly. We decorated the bulletin board based on the theme Green and Clean Earth. We also made paper bags and took an oath of not using plastic bags. Our teachers appointed eco-monitors to organize World Earth Day celebrations. In July, under the theme of Go Green, GIS was privileged to have the head of Green Schools League of Gujarat, Ms. Renu Sheth, in our leadership lecture series. Ms. Renu taught us about the importance of plantation drive to sustain a greener community. We observed the Van Mahotsav week and invited parents as well as neighboring community members to participate in plantation drive. As a result, our campus is now greener and our school has become a medium to spread environmental awareness. For the month of August, we arranged organic farming under the theme Soil. We planted numerous types of seed, including pulses and food crops, in our school garden under my square foot garden activity. We not only learn about the importance of agriculture, but also realize the value of labor and dedication that our farmers put in to feed the country. At GIS, we have a tradition of gifting a tulsi sapling to our guests to mark the importance of planting trees. Moreover, we also attended an exclusive workshop on how to make eco-friendly Ganesha and celebrated Ganesh Chaturthi the eco-friendly way. Trees have always been our best friends, and to mark their significance, we tied Rakhi on Raksha Bandhan and friendship bands on Friendship Day to our beloved friends, trees.
Thank you, Naisha. During the month of September, we decided to reach out to the community. Under the Nurture the Nature theme, GIS Ahmedabad conducted a cross-campus GSE competition of poster making, slogan writing and collage making. GIS students went to various places like other schools, local communities and societies. Through this community outreach, students developed interpersonal skills while interacting with a cross-section of the society. They were successful in igniting interest in greener initiatives in the community. Even our field trips are aligned with our green ethics motto to make sure that we are reconnected with the nature. In the month of October, we initiated the 5 hours concept and saved a lot of money by reusing the sources like old chart papers and cardboard boxes to make teaching resources, annual day props and learning ambience. Our best out of waste, the trash and show, was one of the hot favorite competition among the students. An assembly was conducted on kindness towards environment, in which a strong message for banning single-use plastic bags was delivered. We stopped using non-biodegradable chemicals and have switched to eco-friendly cleaning supplies. We know that the birds are most vulnerable towards air pollution. In order to bring awareness to protect birds and wildlife, we conducted a balcony birdhouse making activity. GIIS conducted a Clean and Green India campaign, under which our students took to a rally for the cause. A Nukkad Natak on Save Tigers was also presented, through which they learned to create synergy with the nature. The key learning during this month was making a compost pit using wet waste and dry biodegradable things. In reality, there are no boundaries between subjects. GIIS makes students learn about real-world problems and their solutions through subject integrations of SST and science. In the month of December, we worked under the theme of Stop Pollution and Live Natural. We observed Green Medicine Day and learned the benefits of different herbs and plants by Dr. Rajal Shah under the Leadership Lecture Series. Elevating Green is the prominent agenda of GIIS Ahmedabad to get the upcoming generation ready to lead the globe on the path of environment friendliness. Our parents, students and teachers have pledged to save the Mother Earth by imbibing and spreading the message of green ethics. We have conducted Elevating Green activities in collaboration with other GIS campuses throughout the globe. Monthly activities have been listed as per the theme and implemented successfully. This is the data analysis of the year that went by, where we have calculated the number of students that participated each month. As you can see in the pie chart, throughout the year, students have been actively participating across all grades. Now, Naisha, will you please tell them about a unique green curriculum?
Yes, indeed. GIS Ahmedabad has come up with one of its kind green curriculum, which has age-appropriate lesson plans revolving around being eco-friendly and building a sustainable lifestyle. We have conducted this survey, which entails a questionnaire present in one of the lesson plans, and here are the details of question asked. We have got following findings from the survey. Sometimes space is a constraint when it comes to growing plants, but GIS Ahmedabad overcame this by growing vertical plants. We have been recognized by different national and international authorities for our green initiatives, and we have received a number of awards for it. We are privileged to have such a school and principal sir who empower and inspire us constantly.
To sum up in a nutshell, here are key takeaways from this project. Our teachers have designed a green ethics curriculum. A large number of students are actively participating in green initiatives, which is an integral part of GIS culture. GIS Ahmedabad building is now greener due to the addition of vertical gardening and square foot gardens. We also celebrate a No Plastic Day. Single-use plastic is banned to be taken inside our school premises. The school's concept of green ethics is now dispersed through parent and community collaboration. GIS students are proud flag bearers of green ethics. We consider ourselves as green warriors, and we shall not stop until we plant the seeds of green ethics in everyone around us. For us, this is not the end of our journey, but our journey has just begun. GIS parents are not only our proud partners and torch bearers, but they have also appreciated and applauded our attempts to spread green ethics. Just like Greta Thunberg, we want you to remember that. We want you to act like the house is on fire, because it really is. When people associated with the film industry talk about this issue in the Oscar acceptance speech, it clearly isn't a small one. Together we can and we will make a greener future for generations to come.
Wow, that was great work by the students of GIS Ahmedabad. Thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. So we come to the end of the presentations from the organizations. We move on to the question answers session. May I request our judges, Mr. Jitendra Malhotra and Dr. Sandeep Shenoy, to be in the forefront. Thank you, sir. So can we, Mr. Jitendra also? So we can move on to our organizations in the sequence of the presentation that they have made. Yeah. So can I move on to call the first participant? Judges? Yeah. Okay. So we start. Yes. Thank you so much. So we start with the Bombay Cambridge Gurukul, Mumbai, with Sarbani and Shama. Can we have them in the spotlight, please? Sarbani Bhattacharya and Shama Govindan.
So can I start?
Yeah, have they come in focus?
Yeah. Just a moment, they're starting. Yeah.
Just, welcome. So over to the judges now for the questions.
So excellent presentation, first of all. And I think the only thing which I actually wanted to know, it's a deep-rooted kind of practice. I mean, as you are saying, almost 20 plus years this practice is running. So can you say that what is the kind of refinement has happened to the entire process? I could get from your presentation that it was on a pen and paper mode, which has now got into a kind of online survey, and there also you are trying to maintain the anonymity. Those are very good. However, I want to understand that how you have thought about involving other stakeholders into the process and capturing their voice also, like parents or.
To begin with, for the parents, we have the exit survey for parents. The parents leaving.
Ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt you. There is a lot of echoing, so you would need to mute one machine.
You have to switch off one machine.
Yeah. Is it okay now?
It's still echoing, ma'am.
Still echoing. You unmute or you mute your one of the machine.
Yeah, right now it is okay?
Yeah, better.
Yeah, to take the feedback from the parents, we do have a practice of all the students who are taking LC. So they give a feedback while taking LC, as well as standard 10 parents. We have an exit survey for them also. But it is something they voluntarily give. We give the survey to all of them, as many as we receive. As for the students, like we see to it that 100% presentation is there, 100% student answer. Also, if you're saying about the other stakeholders, if I say teachers, we do have a practice of teachers exit survey. When any teacher who is leaving, HR people sit one by one with them, and we have a exit interview sort of thing. So that is also taken care of. So from parents, teachers, students, we have a regular practice for the last, I will say, almost 24 years. It is in practice.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, they can hear you, Sandeep.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Mr. Shenoy?
I think
disruption. The question I would like to ask is, you have mentioned certain changes which you have brought in based on the exit survey.
Right.
And you have given examples of that.
Right.
But we would like to know whether how do you document this in terms of the categorization of these suggestions, and in terms of how many suggestions came and how many were implementable, how many were implemented. So how do you record that, or how do you document it?
Okay, so for every year after the survey, once the report is done, as for HR practice, we have this, suggestions we categorize into effective, like all regarding curriculum suggestions, we keep it in one group, and infrastructure. And then we present it to the management. Then based on the feasibility of the time, economy, everything, then those are implemented. So there are very small practices also, I will say, got introduced, a huge one also. So I have just given you few examples. Right from uniform, like I will tell you, 1 year students said we got for 2-3 years that the tie, they didn't want tie. Then we realized, yeah, in a climate like Bombay with so much humidity, so it got implemented after 2-3 years, like, okay, students will not wear tie. So this small detail also we take care of.
Okay.
One last question. Oh,
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, Sandeep. If you want.
No, you can. Jitendra, you can.
Okay. So one question which I wanted to ask was that what is that unique or kind of new practice which is differentiating you from the other schools? I mean, which has come out through, as an outcome of this process. So which you would like to share with us, which is a proud story for you.
Okay, I'll say our care center is the proudest story for us. We have an in-house counseling and special education center in our school. So we have, by 6th standard, we screen every student who requires special need. The children with special need are identified, and then they are taken under the, care of care center. If they need any kind of remediation, it is taken care of. If they need any kind of counseling. So that is, I will say, for my organization, we are very proud of. And it started and it has sustained, and it is with us because of the feedback we get from students. So every year we get a very high rating of care center, of the counselors and special educators. And because they're leaving, they say how it has helped them emotionally as well as to cope with their academic challenges, whatever they face because of the challenges they have. That is one of the, I will say, biggest thing we have, proudest thing of our organization.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so any more questions, sir? From the
there
judges? Any audience questions was there, if I may request you
no
to?
specific questions from the audience also.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. We will thank you so much for your time. We will now move on to the next organization, that Global Indian International School, PG Smart Campus, Singapore. I request Ms. Melissa Maria and Ms. Radha Ganesh to be with us. Hello, ma'am. Over to the judges.
Yeah, Jitendra, can you ask first?
Yeah, so Melissa, again, an excellent presentation from your side, where we can see there was a, according to the requirement, how you are coping up and, how the learning effectiveness is actually addressed through that, all those smart solutions, digital solutions. Just let me know one thing, that other than infrastructure things which we saw in your presentation, is there anything which you are trying to attempt to make the people, your students, digital savvy? I mean, they are good at data analytics and these kind of things. So not just there are many infrastructure related digital solution which we saw in your presentation, but this was one point which actually I wanted to understand, that are we making some attempt on that also?
To understand your question, first, thank you, Mr. Jitendra and Mr. Shenoy, for being part of this jury and committee. Just to understand your question, you are asking at GIS, is there anything else that we are training our children with? or is the question specific to what kind of training we are giving for digital?
Exactly.
Okay. So we have actually a detailed curriculum for children in itself. So they have their regular IT classes. But what is more critical is what can they do beyond the curriculum requirements. So at regular intervals, there are workshops created, set up. So they are learning Python, they are learning coding, there's Scratch, there's AI. So all these classes are happening. But the most recent trend and something that we feel very, very proud about is because of this immense exposure that children have got to technology, they are self-learning. So many senior children are self-learning, and then they are developing their modules to teach their juniors or also to be of service to the community. So children now have learned all these tools that are available and which are upgrading continuously, and they're formulating packages of workshops and training their juniors. So we do it in school in curriculum, but because of access, children are able to learn much more. Radha, if you want to add anything?
I would like to highlight some of our student projects, where they went beyond their curriculum requirement. They learned to use things like Arduino microchips and the programming related to it. They developed some gadget called self-watering plant. They developed something called dengue protection kit and sea cleaners. They were all automated technology related projects that they picked up on their own.
So just connecting to your answer, Melissa ma'am,
yes.
When you said that there is a self-learning environment, so is there a monitoring of that self-learning environment, that kids how much time, because self-learning is something which either you can leave it to them, that and you believe that they are doing it, otherwise you can also monitor it. So are you attempting to monitor that how much is one is paying effort?
Yeah, I think there's always this fear everyone has about technology. Let me be upfront and say that, everyone thinks that technology will be misused if given in the hands of the children. So yes, and I keep taking this example back. When we were learning, our best medium of learning was our paper pencil, and we sat in class. If we had to do research, we rushed to the library. You fast forward to this age, children are digital natives. Their tools of learning are the gadgets and internet. Now, yes, as adults, we are always afraid. So we have to do a check. So when we allow children to do a self-learning, create a self-learning environment, we do have checks in the background. There are multi-layered security, checks put in place to see what children are accessing when they are in school. Like for example, at GIS, they have school-given device. So it is extremely easy to put all these filters for the children. But I want to tell the jury and all our listening, audience, what is more important is if we can instill in children this discernment from what is right and what is wrong. So at GIS, we are very, very conscious. We train children right from young age into universal values, values of discernment. At the end of it, they are going to have all technology at their fingertips. They should discern what is right and what is wrong. So in these formative years, as they are with us, this is our endeavor. We train children to use all the technology that is available, but simultaneously look at the values that are associated with it. So to answer your question, Mr. Jitendra, yes, we monitor, but we also intrinsically train children in discernment. I hope I've addressed your question.
Okay, yeah, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions for you. This is basically the concerns which have been shown by the audience in terms of the questions what they have raised. So their questions are somewhere you may have answered it, but again, I want to reiterate. It talks about extensive use of technology. Will it impact or the students in terms of too much activities online, and then it affects their health, or it affects them, or it can be another way in terms of security concerns. So a couple of these have been raised by the audience. So can you just elaborate on that?
I think we are in a very fortunate environment. In fact, I must admit and must compliment our chairman. He looks far ahead. So when the whole world was looking at online tools and technology, he had already reached there. He was ahead of the curve. And why do I say this, and why as educators we are so grateful, is because he first looked at security. He first looked at health risks. He first looked at cyber security risks for children and for staff. So he went ahead and invested in technologies that will protect children, layer them from any risk that is there. Now, coming to the other part of too much of exposure, will it have a negative impact on children? Like I addressed in the beginning, you know, micromanaging is always going to be a challenge. We will not be able to micromanage children, but we can at a macro level create a plan and systematically keep reinforcing good from bad. And we do that in the form of multiple workshops that we do. Our counselor does speaking, our teachers have circle time, we have yoga sessions. So there is this whole program created to give children an understanding that it may get dangerous. Be careful. Be careful. You use it. You are digital natives. You need to use it. You need to become better with it. But be cautious. You know, so this is given to them, but constant reminders of discernment and taking the right action.
Okay. One more question, again from the audience. It is about COVID-19 situation. Whether this online smart campus, did it really help you in addressing the students, the education of the students?
You know, I must tell you all, when the COVID hit, you know, the world was scampering for technology and how to give learning to kids so that there is uninterrupted learning. And again, by God's grace, the campus was already equipped technologically. We were actually ready for virtual. But when it suddenly comes to you, you know, you may not be, you're taken aback. How come this has happened? But we were ready. And I think one of the things that stood out for us is that we were able to provide actual virtual learning. It's like 9 to 3:30, full school, timetabled classes happened for each and every child. And what is more encouraging is that this learning of ours that commenced in Singapore Smart Campus very quickly spread to our 23 campuses. Within a matter of 2 weeks, all our 23 campuses provided for each and every child learning completely uninterrupted. So it was not like, you know, you do this exercise, I'm posting it for you, I'm sending it in intranet, you work it out at home, and there's no interaction. The children could see their teacher like you can see me. And every class was conducted that way. So for COVID, technology has been a complete hero. And I must say the other point, which is more critical because of COVID, you know, there has been a complete rise in the kind of emotional well-being of children and staff for that matter. And we feel that because we are technologically so far advanced and, you know, having the device, we were able to address even our children who are having difficulties. There's a helpline created. Children can just go there. There is a trained counselor addressing that platform. So COVID is a challenge for all of us. I am happy that my children and all our GIS children had not a day missed of learning. And not only academic subjects, co-curricular subjects as well. It's a true test for us actually. COVID has been a true test for us.
Yeah, one last question. Have you benchmarked your practice against any other schools or any institution?
Yeah, so benchmarking is something that has to come if you have to improve. You know, that's a hallmark of improvement. And I must tell you that as we have been sourcing for technologies, because this is one thing that is always changing, you have to keep upgrading. So we have a complete cell that does research proactively. It goes and looks as to the best that is available in the technological market. Now come to schools. As our research team is looking at tools and technologies, the academic teams, me, my colleagues, principals in the other campuses, we too are checking out at the other schools, what else is happening, what else is happening. You know, I don't want to sound boastful, but we are ahead of the curve. We are the benchmark in this. And very recently we had an article that was published that listed 2 schools that are actually doing virtual learning, not online, but virtual learning. GIS Smart Campus, Singapore was one. We had another school in Singapore, Invictus, but of course they are looking at only primary schools of 1 to 6. So GIS has been doing K-12. So yeah, I'd like to say that we are a benchmark, but we don't rest on our laurels. There's continuous searching and looking to see if there's anything better.
Thank you.
I hope I've answered your questions, and Radha, I'm sorry if I didn't give you a chance. If you want to say something, please.
Okay, thanks.
Judges, any more questions? Anything? I think you've covered the audience also.
Yeah, we have covered most of the questions.
Thank you, ma'am, so much for your time.
Thank you.
Judges, can we move on now to the
please,
next
please.
institute?
Please, thank you,
Okay.
Melissa.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will now move on to Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, Pune. Can we have Dr. Ganesh and Dr. Gaikwad to be in the spotlight for interaction with the judges? Dr. Ganesh and Gaikwad. Yeah, hello, sir. So over to the judges now.
Yeah. So may I start, Sandeep?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So again, a very unique practice presented by you. Good one to see that you are trying to align with the requirement, the national requirement, the mood of the nation, as it was exhibited in your presentation. In this best practice, what actually I wanted to know from you is that how much you align yourself with the industrial need. I mean, do you conduct yourself with some, do you interact at the background? Do you interact with the industries and you understand their requirement? What is your procedure to understand so that your project selection, your project identification, project attribution, that goes exactly in line with the requirement? So what is the process on that? We saw the boxes over there, I mean, which were there. I mean, those were the categories. But how did you arrive to those categories, and whether it is a dynamic process or these are stationary categories in which you assign the projects?
Yes, thank you very much, the jury members and the team IMC. First of all, I would like to express my thanks for giving us opportunity to present our best practice of EDI in this. Coming to the question, sir, we have a very systematic procedure in order to set up industry connect and identifying their needs. So what we do is that in the beginning of every academic year, the EDI coordinator of every department of the institute.
May I interrupt you, Vijay, because unfortunately I am not able to hear you.
Natasha, I think so. There's an audio, little bit of some.
So can you use a micro or this mic?
Can you use your headphone or mic?
Headphone and mic.
Am I audible now? Right
Yeah,
now?
but if you use a mic, it will be much better.
Okay,
You
okay.
come a little bit nearer to the screen.
Closer to the mic, please.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir. So we have a very systematic procedure. What the question you have asked. So in the beginning of every academic year, the coordinator, the EDI coordinator of every department of our institute does his homework. What he does is that he connects with the all industry with the help of the office of our institute. We have a very strong connect with all industries all over India. So around 1,000 plus industries we are being connected. So every EDI coordinator connects with all those industries. They have then they discuss based on the identification of the problem statements. Anything from the industry side is any solution they are looking for, and how that solution can be broken down into multiple parts. And then those lists and all those data, they are being compiled very systematically by the EDI coordinator. Then at the same time, the same time, the students on the other side, they provide the list of interest, list of domains where they wanted to come up with this API. And then before the start of academic year, the match and the correlation of all those industry problem statements and student interest is happening. And then that entire data is presented to all the students, and based on that, there is a very detailed discussion that will happen, and then students come up for identification of their problem statement, where the industry needs some support, and then the things will go. So according to the need of the industry and the interest of the students, to carry out our homework, we are coordinator of every department carry out the homework and provide that data to all the students, and the students start working on the problem. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. In your presentation, when you mentioned about this particular initiative helping the startups.
Yes, sir.
So, how many startups have been created based on these initiatives?
Okay, sir. Yes.
I think I will answer that. Dr. Vijay, should I answer this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Whether I'm audible, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are initiating this engineering design and innovation concept from last 4 years, and last 3 years, 13 startups have came up in university campus. We have our incubation center also. We name it as a VSTEP. And these 13 startups, some of the startups are in e-commerce area, but there are some startups which are also giving the product solutions. Like we are having the Elegant Coatings, that is a coating company that has been created through this EDI projects, and that is doing well, and it is situated in Aurangabad. We have Mother Masala, that is an e-commerce type of a company created by our students, which is supplying the tiffins to the students. And also one more e-commerce company is there, that is a doctor, order doctor, that type of e-commerce company. And there are some product companies also there, like Infinity and eThings. So there are 13 companies have come up, startups come up in last 3 years.
Okay. How this initiative has helped you in placements?
Definitely, because as Dr. Vijay said that our first interaction with the industry takes place through our training and placement department. And then we have the industry advisory board. And then we have the third sort of initiative is the industry hackathons. There are many hackathons conducted by the industry, and on an average there are 20-25 hackathons yearly. And most of the industries, when they are giving the problem statement for the EDI, they also select some students for the placement. Also through this industry advisory board, whatever the problem statements they are giving, they hire some students for the internship. Because one more thing that I will add here, that our college has a unique practice of 6 months compulsory internship. So that will also help to get the students internship and the pre-placement offer to them. And also the industry hackathon, whatever conducted by the industries, our students are presenting their engineering design and innovation work and that placement. Our placement is 100%, sir. Or I will say that more than 100% due to these initiatives what we are taking.
Sir, may I add one point?
Yeah, please.
So as sir has asked about the placements, what is happening, sir, based on the feedback from the industry, that what we have identified that in today's world, what every industry looks for is that not an engineer who is in computer, not an engineer who is expert in electronics and telecommunication, but they want an engineer to provide a complete solution to the problem statement that is being identified by the industry. So what industries are always telling us that we want the engineers who are imbibed with multidisciplinary knowledge. And if this best practice is considered as engineering design and development, for every case study, for every disciplinary approach, a group of 5 members, 5 students who are from different branches come together, we provide a solution for that based on very detailed design and thinking. And this all churning, discussions, development, this all exercise what students do under the guidance of the faculty, under the mentorship of various industry partners. So that automatically improves that ability amongst themselves in their mind, so that they not only become the industry ready, but they become the future ready. That's it.
Okay. One more question. you mentioned that they do almost 2 projects in a year and 8 projects. Is it 8 or 16?
Sir, it is 16. It is
16 projects over a period of 4 years.
Yes,
so how does this projects get credited into their curriculum? Are they given credits for having done this project, or is it extra?
So there are 4 credits in the curriculum. So this entire process is a part of the curriculum. So every EDI project is having a 4 credit.
Okay. One more question, which may be a suggestion as well. You mentioned multidisciplinary. Now, in your terminology, it is basically different branches of engineering students meeting together and making a project.
Yes.
But do you include any other disciplines like dentistry, medicine, or some other areas which where their discipline inputs are also required for coming out with any engineering product?
Definitely, sir. We are considering these inputs, what you have rightly said, and that's the need of the hour. So during design and development process, every student group under the mentorship of the concerned faculty, if the project is related with the dentist, that with the help of some computer vision technology, identifying the tooth process, then in that condition, the faculty guides the student group to visit the dental hospitals and to carry out some literature survey and be associated with the doctors. You get all necessary inputs, get and whatever design solutions they have come up, they are presented to concerned medical authorities. So this entire process falls in the design and development. So yes, sir, definitely we are taking that point while designing. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So any more questions, judges?
I think a good one only. There was some problem of audio. Otherwise, they have answered.
I think so. If we had, that he would have put in some mic or something, it would have been great, sir.
Yeah.
But anyway, the answers have been responded well. Do you need a repeat or something, judges?
No.
No.
No,
Okay.
no, it's okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Yeah.
Thank you, jury members. Thank you, Team IMC. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to our last participating organization, Global Indian International School, Ahmedabad campus. May I request for Mr. Dave Butch and Mr. Cesar De Silva. Hi, hello. Over to the judges now. Mr. Cesar De Silva, yes. Over to the judges now. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just very good presentation by the students, and we really appreciate the green initiatives taken by your school. One question is about, we mentioned about a curriculum where you have a green curriculum where students are given projects to understand how they can impact the environment. And one of the examples which you gave was about the water survey. We would like to know how this kind of, like now the survey had questions in terms of how the water is being stored, utilized, and where taps are there, which taps are left, are not proper working, and all those kind of questions. So how does this kind of surveys impact, in the sense, how do you project the benefits of these surveys?
Okay, so they would like to answer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll come in later. Thank you.
First of all, for this survey, we had a questionnaire given to all the students. After the outcome of this result, we have mentioned in the presentation that we have appointed the eco monitors. So once the eco monitors get where the water is utilized and where it is wasted, they take more attention to those places, and so it will help us highlight where our problems are and where we have good water management. So this will help our eco monitors manage the water problems.
Just a follow up on this. Do you follow up on the kind of what the eco monitors are doing and whether it has resulted in any savings?
Yeah. We have also teachers, 2 to 3 teachers who monitor all the eco monitors also. So every month we see what the eco monitors are doing, and we have questionnaires for the eco monitors too.
Yeah, so I think I'll add to that. There was an amazing result we found. Nearly about 40% of water was saved after this initiative. I'll tell you, these are the children who are passionate about doing things once we empower them. And the idea to build green ethics came up in our discussion, because we felt that learning cannot happen in the four walls of the school. We need to ensure that the environment is the best platform where children can learn. So the green ethics was built. The first event, the first attempt was to make 25 lessons. So we created 25 lessons and we piloted them. One of them was the one which we presented to you, and we found it was successful. So that was the story behind the entire thing. So we'll now we are going to now in the second phase we are going to scale up and do more such and come out with some kind of module to ensure that it is scalable and sustainable.
Okay. How long have you practiced this green curriculum?
So it has been 2 years as of now. In fact, the initiative started long time back, but we started measuring the impact since last 2 years. And in fact, we got a good support, because this entire initiative was discussed in our GALS project, where all the principals of global schools have their interactions once in a year. So last year, 2019-20, in fact, we took this project and headed it for all the GIS, sharing with them and eliciting responses from them. So since last year, we started documenting, and we realized that once we give this, empower children, they do amazing work. We can see the passion and joy in their faces. So now it's become like a culture of GIS, So we don't need to teach them, whether it is germination or whether it is photosynthesis. Children, through the hands-on learning, the learning goes, for lifetime. So the idea is to ensure that the concepts are learned for life and not for just examination.
Great. Yeah, Jitendra.
Okay, so Mr. De Silva, I think very first time I am seeing students of some school are presenting so boldly and so confidently and speaking on a topic which is generally considered higher than their their level. So point is that how do you actually sensitize these students? Because getting them involved into some of the program and initiative is one thing, but making them really understood the entire meaning of it and carrying it in their life. So how do you do that thing? That I want to understand. And there is another second question. There I will come to you. I think it's
Okay.
good that you want to answer that.
Yeah.
And yeah, second important is that while we say about green, there are numerous practice which can be done, and numerous initiative, and I have seen in your presentation there are many such. But while doing so, and especially doing for students, do you take some consultation, some kind of advice from some experts that what kind of initiative actually should be driven? So that it creates a long-lasting impact to the mind of the students. So, is there a innovation into the entire process that I want to?
Yeah. So first of all, let me tell you, Dey is one of our founder student. He is with us since last 7 years, and amazing to see that he's making a presentation and he's taking, in fact, the lead. This is the passion which has happened, and it has happened because the kind of a culture we have at GIS Ahmedabad is not to teach, but to engage children in learning. So it has made our life very simple, because you can see the passion, because we can see the kind of enthusiasm children show. So of course, actually environment is very dear to them. That's the reason we thought, let us take this as an initiative, because we had number of other initiatives to take, but we thought our Mother Earth, I think, has been been exploited, and it is a time to give a healing touch. And who else but this generation, which requires that spark to take it forward. So I am so blessed, to have these children, and my office is flooded with children more than teachers and the visitors. So so it has been easy for us. In fact, now we don't need to drive this the campaign. It has been taken up by the children. So yeah, and yes, what you are talking about is how do we drive this, whether there is innovation. Of course, there are local people with whom we collaborate. In fact, the municipal commissioner, Mr. Vijay Nehra, also visited our school. And from our school, he in fact declared Godrej Garden City as a zero waste city, township. So which was a proud moment for not only me, for all our children and the entire community, parent community as well. Apart from this, these initiatives are checked, reviewed, and taken it forward through discussion with the global heads. We have our principals and we have our team leaders at GIS Noida, Sunita, Vishali, and a number of people who give us feedbacks. So of course, it is not only taken in isolation. We have a lot of people who have given us feedbacks, and then we move forward. Thank you so much. Dey, you wanted to add something?
Okay.
I think he's mute.
Yes,
Can we
yeah,
unmute
yes.
him? Yeah.
You can unmute yourself there.
I think still it's mute.
He's probably trying. But
Yeah, let me try 1 minute.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to add that because the school is surrounded by so much greenery, in the past few years, we the students, I personally as a green warrior, would like to assure you that with so much greenery around us, we have made such an attachment with the nature that we have become the flag bearers, torch bearers of this project. We are the innovation of this project. We personally ask principal sir to do this, and of course, principal sir always helps us. So it was like we don't need innovation. We are the innovation of this project. And also you said about the advice. We have a leadership lecture series in our school where on a one Mahotsav day, the head of Green Schools of Gujarat, Ms. Renu Sheth, personally came to inspire us. So yes, take advice from familiar and famous faces. So that would also capture the students' attention. And of course, we are surrounded by so much greenery. So now we have an attachment with nature which will not detach till we have the success.
Proud of you, Dave.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Great.
Okay.
Yes, Sandeep, over to you.
Yeah, one last question. You have mentioned in your results about number of students participating in various activities. Do you also document in terms of outcomes of these activities, like each activity, what is the outcome of it?
Yes, we some activities we are poster making, slogan writing. In this we record all the entries that we get. So that is one type of metrics that we use for the data analysis. And one more thing is that in August we had a square foot garden activity which had pre-primary to grade 5. So we take all the students. We ensure that no one is left out. So that is one more thing, that the full attendance has to participate. So that is one type of data analysis that we have used for the data collection.
In fact, not only students, but we have parents who are enthusiastic partners with us, because the initiative has now gone to the parents, and we can see of parents in many ways. So they do not only come to the school, but they do their square foot garden at home. And children come and narrate the story about how they are managing the square foot garden at their homes, and even the bird feeders making the bird feeders. So it has gone to the community. That's what is the next level of success is. We want it to go to the community and ensure that it goes to not only NGOs, but even to the government.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions, judges?
No, I think it is done. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we close the Q&A session now and move on to the breakout session for the judges to confer on the final recognitions. May I request Mr. Malhotra and Dr. Shenoy to please proceed towards the breakout rooms. Thank you. Natasha?
Yes, Maya. The judges have the judges have moved towards the breakout room. We can launch the poll.
Okay, fine. Okay, so while the judges confer, it will take another 10 minutes for them to do that. We will conduct a quick poll, engaging with all of you. This is a very short, will not take more than a minute. So I request you, Natasha, to please flash the poll form. In the meanwhile, I would also like to request, everybody has received a absolutely elaborate feedback form earlier from Manjusha. I would request you to fill that in so that we can also improve further. Here in the meanwhile, it's a quick one as I mentioned, and there's a submit button at the bottom. Please press that once you do your selection.
Another 30 seconds more, Maya.
Okay, great. Request all to just fill in the poll.
Yeah, you can flash it now.
Okay, great. So the results are out. Poll results, yes. Oh, great. We have 79.6% submitting excellent and 20.4% saying that's good. Great. It's highly motivating for the organizations that have participated. Thank you so much. And in the meanwhile, that the judges are, when we have the judges conferring, I would like to, some of you have already, those who are, been there with us for all the sessions would already know. So, and for those who are new, I would like to present the new initiative of the IMC Ramakrishna Bajaj National Quality Award Trust. It's our pleasure to introduce a very quick and simple submission, the Excellence in Crisis Award that we have initiated. It is under the aegis of Mr. Suresh Lulla, our chairman, in the newly formed awards committee. We have a composition of Mr. Umesh Dhand, Mr. Johnson George, and Ms. Suman Pai, who have been very, presenting various ideas and suggestions. And this idea came from our faculty and member, Suman Pai, who said, let's us just tap in the success stories of organizations during this difficult time. Let's not say that it has been a bad phase. Yes, it was bad, tough, challenging, but all of us, each of us have responded to this very differently, and organizations, to maintain their sustainability aspect, have taken on many initiatives, innovative approaches, and it all needs to have a showcasing, a platform to talk about. So the Excellence in Crisis is that particular platform, and we are presenting it to you with 5 simple parameters, which is centered around what the leadership has done, and also what are the innovative practices that were introduced, how does the workforce get motivated, and the engagement initiatives. Every factor counts. How did you manage your suppliers and all of that, and what is it, the learnings from this that you would be either taking it forward or putting it back for, at this point of time, how it has worked for your organization. Now, this submission would need to be reaching us by the 24th of July. The entry is free. So across sectors of manufacturing, service, education, healthcare, NGOs, and small business, we invite you to send in as many submissions and talk about your success stories in many ways, and submit it along with videos and photographs. As I understand, the judges need another 5 minutes, so I will just quickly encapsulate this. It's there on our website. I would request you to have a look at it. So please present your submissions by the 24th of July. When you reach the near final stage, the shortlisted organization, this will be assessed by the team of examiners who are with us at the IMC RBNQA Trust. They would be assessing the first submission, and later on, when you move towards the later part, then there is a fee of 10,000 that needs to be presented. As I mentioned, submissions by the 24th of July. We will be having an esteemed panel of judges that we are all working towards that, inviting the judges to be on board. They will be announcing the final awards on the 14th of August. It's like a pre-independence celebration for all of us, and the proper formal kind of a program, which would also be online, would be organized, and that date will be communicated to all the participating organizations. So I would urge all of you to please consider what good and what extraordinary work. Everybody has done extraordinary work, but how would you want to represent it and showcase it so that others can emulate the same practices? So be enthusiastic and get your teams together and start your work on that submission. So it's short and sweet, quick, and I think in a short 3 months time, we will be able to bring a new initiative in focus. So look forward to your enthusiastic participation. I would also like to say that we are strong on the social media now. We are on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. So do participate and view our postings and share it with your contacts and organizations so that the reach is much more wider. Thank you. So Natasha, what is the status with our judges?
I think the competition was a little difficult for the judges as well.
Oh,
so they're still
wow.
discussing.
That is okay. Then the more discussion, it's a tight, I would say, competition really strong amongst the institutes. And that is fair enough. And we got to learn a lot from the organizations who have participated. And education is a sector that is always presented with a lot of enthusiasm, other sectors also. But when the children and the teachers all are so passionate about it, in fact, I always mention that this is a morning session. Otherwise, usually we have it in the afternoon so that all of us after the post-lunch, we are, inundated with some dynamic presentation. So yes, it's interesting, and all of us are learners always. And I think the teachers and the institutes are doing some very good work in reaching out to the students in this difficult times. Because I get to hear from my friends that they are having a tough time to take it forward, some of the lessons that come online. So children are also going through a very strange environment, and they're all wanting to get back to their friends and peers. So let's hope that good times is very soon coming back for us.
So Maya, we are almost, the judges have made their decision. They are just leaving the breakout room.
Absolutely great. Great news, Natasha. Thank you so much. So we request our judges to please announce the winners when you're back in your places.
They will take another 30 seconds to come out.
No issue, but yeah. We would like to hear it from them. Who are the winners? So judges, may I request you to please announce the winners. It's from the second runner-up certificate, first runner-up certificate, culminating in the MQH trophy. Judges, may I request you?
Just unmute yourself, Shenoy and Malhotra.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes. Please announce the winners, as I mentioned, second runner-up, first runner-up, and the main MQH trophy winner.
Okay, so the first, in the order of as
second runner-up, yeah.
So second runner-up position is GIS Ahmedabad.
Oh, congratulations to the team at GIS. Global Indian International School Ahmedabad campus wins the second runner-up certificate. Congratulations to the students and the teachers.
The first runner-up goes to GIS PG Singapore.
Oh, great.
So
Global Indian International School PG Smart Campus in Singapore wins the first runner-up certificate. Congratulations to Melissa and her team. Great work.
And for winner, I request Sandeep to please announce the winner.
Thanks, Jitendra. The winner is Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, Pune.
Oh, wow. Congratulations to the team at Vishwakarma Institute of Technology, Pune, for winning the MQH trophy at the Best Practices Competition 2.0 in the education category. May I request the team from VIT to please give your thoughts and your feedback on this absolutely exciting win.
Thank you, ma'am. It's very encouraging for us that we have received this award, and we'll take forward the suggestions of our judges also. And maybe in the next coming years, as we have the theme of Mr. Modi, that Atmanirbhar Bharat, and our EDI projects will definitely help for that.
Okay,
Great.
Dr. Gaikwad has something to say? He's not there. Okay, fine. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, no issue. There was a. Thank you so much, sir.
Mr. Gaikwad is there, Maya.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah. So, Dr. Gaikwad, any feedback on this win? Congratulations.
Thank you so much from the bottom of heart to all the jury members, Jitendra sir, Sandeep sir, Maya ma'am, Ashita ma'am, the entire team of IMC. And definitely the interaction with the IMC team and the entire committee will always help us in improving ourselves all the time. So definitely we'll keep on our toes and we'll improve our performance further.
Great work, sir. Congratulations once again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your participation. And thank you, judges. Jitendra and Dr. Shenoy, thank you so much for your time and expertise. Yeah, truly enjoyed. Thank you. Take care. Take care. Be safe. Thank you. Yeah. So to all our viewers, that concludes the session 8 education category. Now we have one more left in the afternoon at 2:30. All of us will be back for the manufacturing category. See you at 2:30. Thank you so much for your valuable participation.